5 minutes after 8 o'clock, 8:05. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you along with us. As always, our phone lines are open for you at 1-800-STAR-983, 1-800-782-7983, and, of course, online at star983.com.
And in studio, we have a guest this morning. It has been a very busy week. We have Tom Potter on the air with us this morning. He is running for the U.S. Congressional seat for Maryland, District 5, the 5th district in the state of Maryland. And we welcome you to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
I didn't know if you were going to be here. Apparently, there was some communication problems, and then I got a message from you, and I need to address it.
Go ahead.
I need to. Excellent. I received an email from you, a message on Facebook, and I was taken aback a little bit and had some exceptions to some of the things you said in the message, and maybe it was you think I shouldn't have exceptions to some of the things you said in it?
Well, there was nothing mean in it. It was
okay. Well, we're going to go through
Go
it.
ahead.
Yeah.
And then we're going to learn about you as a candidate.
Mm-hmm.
So this was sent to our Facebook page, which I don't check on a regular basis because I'm not a 14-year-old girl. This was posted.
Well, it wasn't posted. It was a straight message.
I don't really want to get into vernacular. It was on our Facebook.
But the second line is that you said, this is the one I take exception to. Are you and Heather trying to influence the election by giving out free advertising to a select few candidates? I know there is only so much airtime to go around, and you have to slip in that dreadful contemporary garbage music. But we have a primary election going on here, and there are 3 conservative candidates for Congress vying to unseat the incumbent in the 5th district.
So what you managed to do there in the span of one sentence is to infer that we were engaged in some type of political collusion. You've insulted our product up one side and down the other. And by and large, an extension thereof, our listeners, Heather and I, and yet you want to be on the show. That's a mystery to me. Why would you want to be on a product that you clearly disdain?
Well, I don't necessarily agree that I disparaged your product. It's
well, let's see.
97.7
Well, hold on a second. Wait a second.
Let's
use you. That's great. Well, hold on a second. Wait.
Go ahead.
Garbage music.
Right.
These are your words, not mine.
Right.
That is our product.
Okay.
If we owned a deli and I made sandwiches and you came in and said, "My God, these are the worst sandwiches I've ever tasted. Can I have 5 free?" That would make sense to you. I'm just trying to understand how you relate to people since you've decided to run for Congress. Is this how you handle things when you find yourself in a situation where you think something is one way, instead of actually finding out what the situation is, you lash out?
Wow, T. So,
Tom.
Do you think that having one candidate on versus having...
Let me explain something to you.
Hold on one second. I
didn't come here to get attacked.
You're not being attacked. You attacked us.
Hold on a second. Let me just explain.
If you think this is attacked,
hold on.
Trust me.
Well, when you run for Congress,
I'm okay.
This is a cakewalk.
This is dialogue. Go ahead.
This is a cakewalk. And unfortunately, you're not the only one in this boat, because I think that there are many politicians and candidates who are running, whether it's for a primary or a general, have no sense of the law and have no sense what the obligation is here. IT and the ownership of this radio station, we are under no moral, ethical, or legal obligation to have anyone on or to give fair time.
We could have everybody on. We could have nobody on.
Sure.
I am the one that schedules everybody to come in, and this is how it's done. They call me. I've reached out to maybe 2 candidates because I was curious about where they were, and I knew they were never going to call me back, never going to be on this show. Every single candidate contacted us. A gentleman yesterday running came actually into the studio.
Without exception, every candidate that did contact us, we made airtime for. Now, you didn't contact us.
I did not.
How do
you think you're going to get on the air if you don't reach out?
We would have loved to. We're having you on right now.
And I appreciate it. I was not expecting to get on the air. I was not. And
Why? We have everybody on, Tom.
Well,
you don't have everybody on. That's the point.
We've made every... Well, hold on. Everybody who's contacted us have been on. There's not a cast of 1,000 here. I don't have the manpower, the inclination, or the responsibility to reach out to every Tom, Dick, and Harry that's running for every political office. But everybody who has reached out to us, and if I was running for office, one of the very first things that I would do is maybe reach out to local media. But that aside, every single one of them that has said, hey, can I be on your show? I'd like to talk about my campaign. Boom, been on the show.
And I can assure you.
So when I see a line that says, I was a little shocked that my campaign wasn't contacted, I'm not responsible for contacting your campaign.
But
you're running for office. You contact us. I don't need to contact you.
But here's the bottom line. The thing that I took exception to, because I am the one that sets up and says, hey, come in and put the interviews up and put it on the broadcast calendar so people know what's going to be happening. I've never taken a dime. Number one, it's illegal.
The question was it free advertising or was it a paid advertising? Because if it was paid,
what you inferred was that these people had come in here and given us money to be on the air.
Correct.
Absolutely, categorically did not. I've never taken
a
dime. I've never taken 1 cent. What you could do, what you might do, is a little bit of research. What you might do is inform yourself as you move forward. Did you have to pay these guys to be on the air? The answer would unequivocally be no.
Did I get an answer from you guys? No, I'm here. The answer is no. It was free. The answer was no. We didn't take money. And would you like to be on? And yes, I would like to be on.
But why would you start a conversation that way? Why would you start a conversation by saying, "Hey, what's going on? Are you trying to influence? Are you trying to influence? Are you trying to influence the political?" If I could influence the political party, I would just elect myself.
Go ahead, Tom.
Okay. When I looked at the calendar that's on Star 98.3, you had other candidates on that are in a primary. Right. So if you have them in a primary, you would think that you would have both on, or you would reach out.
I don't have to do that.
You don't have to. No,
right.
You don't. But you're a fair guy. I've listened to you for years. I think you've got a pretty good way of looking at both sides of an issue. And that's how I looked at it.
And if those candidates, even at this point in the game, and I don't know how I would do it, but I would figure out a way to do it. I would try to be fair, even though the law says there is no fairness doctrine. In 1987, the FCC deemed it went against First Amendment rules. So they decided to annul it and repeal it. But that doesn't mean that I still am not going to be fair. The problem was you sent that email,
that you don't have to.
But I didn't see it. But I didn't see that until, and then I called you. I mean, my day starts at 5, Tom. I called you at 10:45.
I called the station the day before.
And
I left a message.
You sent that email that morning. You sent the email that morning, and I was just taken aback by it.
So, because
I'm trying to do a public service. That's all. And we want you to be part of it. But you have to understand, and I think, and it's just not you, and I'm not going to beat you up on this. There are other campaigners out there who think that we are under some obligation. My obligation is to the listeners of this radio station.
Obligation. I just think if you've hold on, if you've got one person on,
right,
and we'll use Mark as an example. Mark was on. The expectation from me, and I guess I was wrong, was that if you got Mark on, you should certainly at least contact Chris and contact me and say, "Hey, we got Mark on. Would you like to be on as well?"
I have no issue.
And that's where I am. And regarding the garbage music, I listen to 97.7. I don't listen to Katy Perry and all the other stuff that you got going on.
But you know who she is. Isn't that interesting?
It's because you're giving away tickets this morning.
That's right.
I do take exception to the fact that, we go out of our way to be fair.
And I appreciate that. And that's why I was shocked.
No more shocked than myself.
Well, there we go.
I don't understand, and I can't get my head around this, Tom. If you're running for Congress,
me help you. Go ahead.
Yeah, please do, and go slow so I can follow along. That's a healthy dose of sarcasm. You're going to get a lot of that.
I'm with you.
Good. If you're going to run for Congress,
right?
If that's your design, why do you start from a venomous position? Why do you start by saying garbage? Are you trying to manipulate the electoral process? Why start there?
Do you not think that you're manipulating the electoral process if you don't have all candidates in one primary on?
Absolutely not. It is
How
the
do you
candidate.
not?
Hold on.
How do I not?
You know what?
I'm not responsible
If-
for your campaign.
I'm not saying that you are, but if you have one on, at least reach out and say, "Hey, we're having this
I
guy.
don't
Would you
have
like
to.
But-
I'm not saying you do.
Anybody.
It's okay.
But see, through the course of time in the almost 18 years we've been on the air, you ask anybody in politics, anybody who's been on this show.
I've had 10,000 politicians go through.
They come to the door in the morning. I had a delegate go through the parking lot one day. I was out back smoking a cigarette, and he said, "Hey, can I be on the show?" He's driving his car through the parking lot. I said, "Hurry up and get up.
Never
You got
took a
about an
dime.
hour."
I'm not saying that you did. It's a question.
That's what you inferred.
It's
But
a
here's-
question that's asked,
here-
and did you answer it? Yes, I'm here, and I'm not paying for this.
No.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
You might be paying a little bit.
I
but
would
okay.
I would simply say, and you can do whatever you want. You don't have to listen to me.
But I
just-
do.
this might not
I have
be-
listened to you for years, just not now with this
This
genre of
might
music.
not be the best course of action, is to say to somebody, hey, your product is garbage. I think you're up to no goodery. Hey, can I get a favor from you?
This is a favor.
Yeah, it's a favor we're extending to you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate being on.
Great, let's
Good.
learn about Tom.
Okay, you're going for the fifth district. Do you feel like, are you out and about? Are you going door to door? What is your perception from people in the 5th district about the Republican Party and going after the incumbent who has been in for 33 years? Is it an uphill climb, or are you getting a lot of good response from the 5th district?
Well, both. It's a big uphill climb because Denny's been around forever, and I'm getting a lot of good response. A lot of people are saying, yeah, we got to have a change. We got to have change that works. We got to have change that moves us along a more fiscally sound path.
What kind of change? Because we've had people on here talking jobs, lower taxes is one. This is just the way I see it. You lower taxes and that's great. People hear that and they're great, but you've got to cut spending. Where do you cut spending? How would you?
The IRS, for one, it costs 30 cents of every dollar that the IRS brings in goes towards collection. If you
To collection, just to the IRS, like to the people who work at the IRS?
to the IRS as an entity. So you've got a tremendous amount of money in waste just because of the tax code. It needs to be simplified. There's a couple different ways to do it. There's a couple different budgetary things that they could do. You could look at the Connie Mac's penny plan. You could look at the fair tax plan. There's a lot of different ways to do it.
What about a flat tax? Do you like the idea of a flat tax?
I do. I like the idea of everybody paying something. So does that mean that everybody would have to pay taxes? Yeah, everybody does have to pay taxes.
Right.
If you lower the base, if you take the baseline number and you spread it out over more people would be paying taxes, but they would be paying less taxes.
What about
But it's a spending.
corporations?
You're right, though. It's a spending issue.
It's spending. So you can, because if you do lower taxes, you are going to lose revenue. But the thing is, unfortunately, you don't think so?
Well, because people have more money in their pocket to spend. We still do capitalism here. People spend money, and when they spend money, they generate taxes. The fair tax plan is the best for that.
Explain that to me.
Fair tax it's a consumption tax. It would only work if
We bought something?
Yes, something new.
So would that essentially be a sales tax?
Or like a luxury tax, like a car or...
No, a sales tax.
A sales
The
tax.
fair tax spreads it out over everybody that buys something, but it would eliminate the income tax, the federal income tax.
Oh,
So
okay. Oh, I like that idea.
It's in place of.
Okay.
Need some water. You got any
I
water?
got some water. Let me go run and get you some.
Okay, so walk me through this. I'm going out shopping, and I buy a new jacket, and there's a tax on there already. So would that tax be more than it's on there now, or how would they do that?
Well, first off, if you eliminated the income tax, you put 15% back in your pocket.
Okay, which is good. I'm for that.
I like the
That's
idea of
fine.
15%
So
if
you made the tax revenue neutral, you would end up, let's say you had a 15% federal sales tax.
Right.
So if you go out and you buy something, you pay an extra 15%, but you've got 15% back in your pocket because you didn't have to spend the money on your income
and
tax.
that would be able to support the military,
it would,
law, schools,
I mean,
Social Security, Medicare.
This sounds
it wouldn't do anything
I would
to
love that.
This sounds like a dumb question, but and I'm sure somebody has, but somebody's done the math on this. This is going to cover all of those things?
Yes.
Because all I hear about is trillions of dollars. Trillions, everybody's spending trillions. It used to be millions, and it was billions, now it's trillions. So this, what you're saying, if we went with something like this, which out of pocket doesn't sound bad, that's going to cover all of this stuff.
Yes. It gives you a choice. It gives you the choice to either go buy something and pay taxes, or let's say you're tight on money and you don't want to spend. You can't spend right now. You're really tight. Then you're not paying taxes. There's also a portion to this. It's called a prebate, where you always hear you've got to take care of the poor. You got to make sure that those people are taken care of.
Right.
I'm not going to do this because I'm poor and I get my money back from the earned income tax credit and all those kind of things.
Right.
Well, if there was a prebate from the government based on census data for head of household that said, okay, we want to make sure that these folks are covered above the poverty line. Here's your poverty number. You got 5 people in your household. It's $25,000 a year. We're going to send you $2,000 a month, so that you've got your prebate. You've got the folks that actually need money that are really tight. They're covered. So you have to do the numbers based on sales tax, and you have to do the numbers based on need. Well, you're absolutely right. We've got to cut spending. We've got to cut spending all across the board.
Where would you cut it?
So I would cut it. I would do.
Well, the IRS.
Well,
I'm surprised by that number. I've never heard that number. 30 cents on every dollar taken in is for the IRS to collect.
It's huge.
That's incredible.
So I don't want to sound like I want to cut defense. I could talk all day about Pax River and how important it is to St. Mary's County, and we have to make sure that that's taken care of. But
there are parts in the DOD. Come on.
There are.
There
are parts that we've got planes sitting in places that we bought that aren't ever going to be flown. We've got balloons sitting in warehouses that have no business being there. There are graveyards of planes out in the West that are just sitting there. So there are areas where you can cut.
So
Connie Mac's penny plan is you cut a penny out of spending, federal spending, and I really like that plan because they've got to stop spending all across the board.
So you're essentially talking about a red pin to go in and itemize, for example, defense spending and say we're not going to pay this.
I don't understand what's wrong with that. I don't understand what's wrong with the idea of a red pen.
I don't think there is something wrong with it. I don't know that. The problem I have with it is this, and it's I sound like a defeatist when I say this. The military, government, all of it has gotten so big. I don't know is it beyond a red pen approach?
Oh.
I mean, it's just a juggernaut. It's huge.
It is huge.
I was sitting at the Maryland Independent, and they were asking me, well, where would you cut spending? And I said, well, they just redid the camouflage uniforms for the Navy, and they made them blue.
Okay.
So if a seaman falls off the boat and he's wearing his camos, you can't find him.
Okay. All right. That makes sense
stuff
to
like
me.
that. That's what I'm talking about.
That makes sense to me. I would not argue that point.
We renovated. I worked at Walter Reed for a few years. We renovated some wards that were closed down.
Okay.
The ward is empty. The ward is closed. The hospital was closed, and we're replacing doorknobs. Like, why are we doing this? Well, it was a little bit of an older job order.
I got you.
But the ward was closed.
There does seem to be an immense amount of spending, and I hear about this all the time. And I'm not in a position to really critique it. I'm outside that bubble. But there does seem to be a lot of spending that happens simply because, well, we did it last year, and this is what we do. And it doesn't really make sense.
Well, it's on top of that. We did it last year, and we have to do more now because we just got an extra 10%.
Oh my God.
So we have to preserve that budget number that that we have. So that kind of mentality where if we don't use it, we lose it.
What about and a lot of candidates have talked about this. It all sounds great, but how do you bring jobs back to Maryland? Because we're dying on the vine here.
We've got to get government out of the way and let the private enterprise, private companies do things.
Let private companies fail, too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a mortgage banker, and that's. Let me tell you what, You got me into this whole thing a long time ago.
You're pointing your finger at me.
I
me
am.
personally,
You,
what?
Yes, you. You had a conversation with Steny Hoyer. It was a couple years ago.
Okay.
And you looked at him, and we're probably like this, I guess,
Right.
and you said, 80% of your people in your district.
That's going to come. That comes back to haunt me every time. I know.
But I was listening. I was like, oh my God, he's not listening to us at all. So your question, we've got to get people back to work by getting government out of the way. The more we tax people, the more it takes money out of private enterprise. So we've got to make sure that private enterprise is able to function as opposed to being stifled by regulatory concerns. And Dodd-Frank is huge.
Is that kind of what prompted you to decide you're going to pursue politics?
Yeah. Why would you do this to yourself and your family?
I know my wife's angry with me, but
I bet.
it was that, and then it was the culmination of things. I was in the mortgage business at a company called New Century Mortgage, and this was during Sarbanes-Oxley time when it was the late '90s, and Enron was crazy, and they were taking money and just investing in wild places and then losing everybody's money.
Oh, it was like the Wild West.
Right.
Yeah.
So my territory was Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia for New Century. And I got to be on the Hill working with lobbyists with Sarbanes-Oxley. And the money that flows to Capitol Hill lobbyists and to politicians who will vote whichever way you pay them.
Right.
And that's what
I will say, as an outsider watching that whole space of time, and I don't have money in the market. I'm not wheeling and dealing. But I watched it and I thought, am I the only? This looks crazy to me. It was like drunken spending almost. I mean, it was like a money lust that people had, and they were just making these wild investments, and everybody was, hey, you don't have a job? Let's buy a house, and things were going crazy.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, this doesn't seem right.
It was the term that we used was you got to feed the beast. You got to feed the beast. The company wants volume. Wall Street will buy it, and the government will sanction it. So it was an evil triangle.
I'm sure I was a leg of it.
Let me ask you this too. I want to run a little bit late. And listen, if you give me a couple $100, I'll let you run till 10 o'clock.
We could be
Back to my message.
Hey, listen, I want to ask you a question. The president was on yesterday. I don't know if you got to see any of it.
I did not.
We have a bear of a situation going on in Iraq. Mm-hmm. What, if elected, what would your position be on not only Iraq, but the problem that we're having with Islamic fundamentalists, terrorists that want to see the United States' demise?
I am not an isolationist, but just wipes out everything I just said.
No, that's okay.
I'm not an isolationist, but no more dead kids in Iraq. We've got to stop. We've got to stop sending people to places where they don't have government, they don't have law and order, they don't have any kind of sense of civility.
Well, it's funny because I think you're spot on correct. I think, and I haven't heard a single organization say this. Originally, so we're never going to have boots there again in Iraq. That was a few days ago. Then it was, okay, we're going to send some advisors, maybe 100. Then on Wednesday, it was going to send 200. This morning, he sent 300.
Right, sounds like Vietnam.
Yeah, in the span of like 48 hours, say what you want, for the guys that are there, their boots on the ground, that number tripled.
What do you do
in 48 hours?
Hold up. What do you do, though, with these organizations taking over an entire country, oil fields, and they are on Iran's door? We're apparently Iran's best friend now. And Iran has the bomb. So
all right, Iran has the bomb.
Do we just leave them alone and not play any role in hopes that they don't take over Iran?
we've got to go back to sanctions. We've got to go back to making sure we got to frack so that we can have our own energy independence.
See, I think you're on it right there.
Why are we dealing with them?
I think you're spot on correct.
And I hate to sound like some kind of a crazy man, but let them blow themselves up.
I think
why are we sending?
You know what? That's not crazy.
You two
that's
have
not
more
crazy.
in common than you know.
Yeah,
That's
can we
not
throw
crazy.
that paper away now?
I'm done with that.
Thanks.
So that's not crazy. It's not crazy. And the truth is,
It's
I think
crazy. It's crazy. You're both crazy. Now,
No, it's not crazy.
Oh, you're both pretty. Now, hold on a second.
Boys, you're both pretty.
Thanks.
Here's the problem.
But Heather, here's the deal. We're exhausted. I believe this. I believe that we're exhausted. I believe militarily we're exhausted. Our equipment is exhausted. Our men and women are exhausted. And financially, I think we're exhausted with this. And I don't see any. Why would we go back in? It's like you just got out of the bear's den. I don't want to go back in.
Then what do you do to protect us, Tom?
We got to secure the borders. My God, we've got people just running across the southern border, and I don't care whether they're Mexican, Guatemala. It doesn't matter to me. We are a sovereign nation. Those are our borders. Secure the borders.
What do you do with the children? What do you do with the children coming over?
You send them back. You send them back.
Don't you want to take them and love them and hug?
No, I don't. I've got 4 kids of my own. I got to hug and kiss.
Could not agree more. All right, Tom?
Now, anything else
Thank you, sir.
want, before we let you go, is there anything you want the voters of the 5th District to know? And I also need your web address and how people can find you.
It's www.tompotterforcongress.com.
That's easy.
Yeah, it was pretty simple. And I was endorsed by The Independent, The Enterprise, and the Calvary Recorder. So vote for me.
Okay.
They agree, so should you.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
And wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hot mustard as opposed to mayonnaise.
I was going to ask, now you're Italian.
Yeah.
What about like a little olive oil
my God,
vinegar?
yeah.
What's the best? Okay.
Not with ham, though. You'd have to add more meat.
Okay,
You
so
call-
how?
More meat and better cheese.
What's the best thing your mother ever made? And was your mother Italian?
Yeah.
What the best thing she ever made, and the minute it comes out of the oven or wherever, you're like, I'm home, Mama, this is so good. What's the best thing she made?
Well, it doesn't sound right because she made Dutch apple cake.
Okay.
And it was the best.
That's her go-to.
It was the
Do
best.
you call
apple cake?
It was fantastic.
Not a cannoli or something
No,
Italian. It
no.
was Dutch apple cake.
So I got a brother-in-law whose parents were from the old country. And for the longest time, I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. When he would make sauce, and he would call it gravy.
Right.
Do you call it gravy or do you call it ragu or
Sauce.
You call it sauce, yeah.
And my wife's cooking is 10 times better than my mom.
Oh, no! Okay.
What are you
All right.
doing?
Well, you know what? I'm going to let you fight that fight on
I
your
got
own.
to fight that fight, but
All right.
there I am.
All right, listen, we're crazy behind, so thank you for coming in. Let's check traffic, and then we'll get caught up with ABC News.